I didn't make the leap per se until I actually got deployed to overseas in Iraq. Split down the middle between me and the dispo, so about 10K for me alone, which was amazing. It's one of those like never in a million years that I think 10K, you know, in a month.
And we're back with another episode of To the Moon. And in this episode, I've got one of my favorite people. Actually, you know, they're always my favorite people. But this guy in particular is a blessing, a favorite of mine, a blessing, just one incredibly positive, loving human being I've got to meet in person. And he's been smashing it out in Indianapolis, just slinging houses left and right. And I'm so happy to introduce to you all Doug Turner. Doug, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing great, Jamil. Yourself?
Phenomenal. So, you know, I've had a chance to chat with you, and I know your story because we've been able to talk, but the people watching right now may not be familiar with you. And so I want us to kind of go back, give us a understanding of who Doug Turner is, how you found this incredible niche of wholesale real estate, and, you know, how it's been going.
Yeah. So it all started, it started on YouTube. To be honest with you, I was looking through YouTube. I wanted to get into real estate somehow. Originally I was looking into like, you know, I wanted to have rentals and all that, but I had no money. I didn't know how to do it. So I got into, YouTube and I learned about wholesaling. And while I was learning that, I saw the blue genie. And, then I learned that was you. And then I learned about Wholesale Hotline. So then I started watching Wholesale Hotline, and then I learned about Pace, and I learned about Brent, and so I watched you guys for probably, I'd say close to a year.
Wow.
And I did like one deal off just learning YouTube, but I knew there was like there was a piece missing. Like I was like, I'm missing something. And I kept telling myself, there's gotta be a way to wholesale houses that are for sale. Not just off market, but on market housing. I was like, but I don't know how. And then after I said that, I learned also about Ryan Zolan, and I saw that interview, and I was like, well, okay, so I know it can be done now. But then I for some reason, I always fell back to you, Jamil. There was something about you that always made me come back. But I didn't make I didn't make the leap per se until I actually got deployed to overseas in Iraq.
Yep.
And while I was over there, I was like, you know what, it's time to really focus, and I want to build my business. I want to build a legacy. I want to do something for my family, our freedom, our financial freedom. And I called my wife, and I was like, hey, don't be mad at me.
That's how you start every good conversation with a wife.
Exactly. And she was like, what'd you do? I said, well, I signed up for AstroFlipping.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, what is this? I was like, it's Jamil. You've watched Wholesale Hotline with me. You know who Jamil is. And she was like, those are the people that live in Arizona. And I was like, yes, because she loves Arizona. And so while I was overseas, I started going through the modules, and I'd stay up and I'd go through the modules, and then I learned that we had the live calls.
Yeah.
So I would jump online on these live calls while I'm in Iraq. And one of the first ones was one of your theory calls. And I jumped on there, and I was so nervous to raise my hand to even say hello to you, because I've watched you for a year.
Right.
You know, never in a million years did I think I was going to be able to say hello to you in person. And then I did, and you were like, where are you at right now?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'm kind of,
you couldn't really say, right? You were like, you had to, I remember that. I remember you were being like elusive, and I was like, I didn't want to pry, because you were obviously in a classified kind of situation. You could tell me you were in Iraq, but you couldn't say anything else.
Yeah. And my internet was so lagging that you said, I think I lost you. And then someone said, well, he's still in Iraq, so it kind of lags back and forth a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that makes sense. And so that's how I got into wholesaling. I mean, I was in Iraq, and I was like, we're going to do this. So I started making calls while overseas in Iraq and doing MLS outreach.
You know, it's crazy to me that there's people like you, not in a bad way, that there's people like you that will be deployed. You're out there, you know, putting your life on the line, being in very tough situations, having to go through, you know, probably training, all of the rigor of being deployed. I imagine it's very, very taxing on your mind, body, spirit. And then in addition to that, you carve out time to do outreach and to look at MLS deals and to make offers. It just it says so much about your character, right? When there's when you're in that tough of a situation and you can still carve out time to do your outreach, when there's other people who, like, you know, drive for Amazon or drive Uber all day or whatever it is, and then they find every excuse not to be able to carve out a little bit of time to do the work that they're trying to get themselves out of that situation, you know, from. And it just it shows me that when you prioritize something, you can get it done. It's the fact is that the people who are finding excuses just don't want it bad enough, but you did, and you do. And so you're out there and you're doing these offers. And how does it start rolling for you while you're, you know, deployed? And I'm sure your phone calls were all laggy, and were people like, where are you? Are you in a submarine right now? Like, what's going on?
So it was actually pretty difficult because of the time change and the time difference. So sometimes I was calling at 3 a.m. in the morning, my time, and it was like 10 a.m. over here. So, and my schedule changed a lot while I was over there. So while I was on night shift over there, I made a lot of calls, lots of calls. Cause, in your modules, it's 5 offers a day.
Yep.
For a week, every day for a month, and you're guaranteed to get a deal pretty much. Like it's just how it works. It's mathematical equation, right? So I lived by that. And I was like, okay, well, we're going to call. And I started talking to people while overseas. I got a contract signed. And it was one of those, it was a moment, and I'll never forget it. And I opened my computer and I go to my business email, and it says, your offer has been accepted from the real estate agent. I closed my computer. Huh. Because I was like, this isn't real.
Right.
And then I opened it back up just to reread it again, because I was just in awe that, oh my gosh, this worked. That I ended up having to cancel that deal, that's part of the game.
Sure.
But during that deal is when I met Greg Santana. Mm-hmm. And he's been an amazing person, very, very important person to me. Yep. He would get on calls with me while I was overseas. And I would be in my little area, and we would be comping houses together, just to make sure my comping was on point. And I was very focused on comping, like, because if you can't comp, if your comping's off, then the whole deal will be off. So I was very, very focused on making sure my comping was good. And I knew the area a little bit better because I'm a police officer in that area too.
Got it.
So I knew the area, so I was able to help with comping a little bit in different ways, as far as streets and everything, and areas and all that. But Greg actually went over there with my wife to walk the house for me, because I obviously couldn't do it. And we went in for a reduction and had to cancel. But the difficult part being over there was the time change, because then I felt like there was times where I was talking to people and nobody knew I was over there. Nobody knew I was in Iraq.
You were just keeping quiet about it. You were if they had asked, you would have told them, but nobody asked, so you were mum about it. Yeah,
yep.
Makes sense.
I just let it go. You know, if they asked me, I would tell them, but if they didn't, I'm just going to keep doing my thing, and I'm going to keep calling and keep talking to people.
How are you adjusting your phone number? Were you just calling from like a Google Voice number? What was your strategy for that?
No, I called from my cell phone number.
Your cell phone number. Okay, cool. So
Because
you're like using WhatsApp or whatever?
I had Wi-Fi calling.
Awesome.
So as long as my phone was connected to Wi-Fi, I can call or text message from my actual cell phone number. And I bought overseas, you can buy these, like, they're called internet pucks. And basically you pay each month for internet, and it just walks around with you, and you have Wi-Fi on you 24/7.
Wow.
So I bought one of those just so I could make these phone calls. So I had it on me at all times, calling, connected to my computer so I can do my CRM. I had Privy. I was doing it all right there in Iraq. So I never actually got my first deal in Iraq. I had my first contract, which was the solidifying of the proof that I needed that this works.
Right.
And it didn't get across the finish line, mainly because I had to take a step back, because I didn't want people to, when I was calling people and I was now on day shift, meaning I would get off around 4, and at 4 p.m. it's like almost nighttime.
Got it.
Here. So, and by the time I wake up, then, and I'm not answering emails or I'm not answering calls, then I felt like people would think that I'm flaky.
Sure.
So I had to just take a whole step back and wait until I got home, unfortunately, to continue my actual calling journey. But I mean, during that time, I was still watching videos. I was still getting on the live calls and still learning and just becoming a sponge to it.
How did the live calls assist you? And you just, because a lot of people just come and listen, and I think it's a great idea, especially if you haven't started taking action yet. How were the calls for you? Like what did you extract out of those?
The biggest thing I would say I extracted was the mindset. Because, as you said, it's very taxing over there. It's very mentally exhausting, being away from the family, not knowing what's going on over here. And my wife did an amazing job at that too. But just the mentality of, there's times in my life that I feel like I'm not, I shouldn't have the life that I have. You know what I mean? That I don't deserve it. Right. And one of those calls, one of the first calls when I started having that feeling, was a theory call, and you were actually talking about that toxic behavior. Right. And having to get away from that. And you absolutely deserve everything that you're doing. You're working for it. It isn't. And if you put it out there to the atmosphere, it will come back to you. And it's, as you said, manifesting it. So that was the biggest thing, was just the manifestation. And then you had a class on it, or not a class, but like people are able to come, and it's where you put pictures on a poster board.
Yeah, we did it. We did a little vision board challenge. Yeah,
vision board challenge.
Fun.
Yep. I was actually messaging my wife, and I was like, "Hey, can you send me magazines?" Because I was going to make my own vision board while I was overseas, so that I could hang it up. And things messed up, and we weren't able to get it. But I wrote down all my stuff in a notebook and my vision, because I was so invested. And I mean, I still am invested 100%, but I was just so in awe of hearing the success stories of other people, and then, hearing how you pushed us to be better. And that was the biggest thing on those calls in this community. No one has ever said anything down towards a person, or no, absolutely not. They talk you up, and they help you through the situations, no matter what it was. And I mean, I had so many people sending me their phone number saying, if you need anything, reach out. And no one had ever met me. They only seen my face and the blurry background that I had back here, because I couldn't show anything. But it was absolutely amazing. And so I jumped on every call I could. There were sometimes I would stay up late until like 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, I had set an alarm and put my phone on my chest so it would wake me up so that I could get on one of those calls. Just so I could sit on it for, even if it was for an hour, hour and a half. But I tried to get on everything I could, everything.
Incredible. It's the dedication here, man, is next level. And, I know that when you put that type of effort and energy towards something and the intention behind it coupled with the action is truly what creates the result. And so when you got home, what happened? How'd you score?
I got home and going back to Greg said, dude, you're killing it while you're over there. He's like, when you get home and boots on the ground, you're going to be unstoppable.
Yep.
So I got home and I immediately got back to work. Probably within a couple days of being home, I was at my kitchen table, back to work. I had to clean up my CRM, and I was on a call with you. And I actually told you that I got mad because on my CRM, there were so many deals that I had that I didn't get because I wasn't able to continue my business.
Right.
And I was like, I had lost out on quite a bit of money. And you're like, no. You had deals. Like you have to be excited about this, basically. And I was like, and my wife had told me the same thing, but me being me, I was like, yeah, but I didn't get them, and so I quickly, after talking to you and talking to my wife, I switched this. I flipped the switch, and I was like, well, I did it over there. Let's get back to work. Let's do it now. Mm-hmm. And got back on the phones, started calling, got a couple under contract. Greg and I went and walked, had to cancel a couple more. And then a realtor reached out to me and she said, hey, I think I got one that might work for you. And I was like, okay, awesome. It was an off market. I said, yes. I said, I'd love to come walk it. Let me come walk it with you. And I did. And immediately left and called Greg and was like, hey, we got one. This is it. I'm telling you, I can feel it. So he was like, okay. He's like, let's lock it up. So I locked it up and I got it at 120. It was an off market. The gentleman was needing to move. He needed to get to California. He was trying to fix it himself, but didn't have time. But he was not a DIY guy. He was a contractor. So the work he had done inside was really good work. Okay. Yeah. So we walked it and talked to her, kept talking, did some negotiation. This realtor like infused herself into this deal, knowing it was off market.
Yeah.
She infused herself like nothing. We couldn't. Me and the owner was there when I walked it, and he was like, "Yeah, just talk." He's like, "Let's talk." I'm gonna give you a number. If that doesn't work, then you give me a number. And he's like, "Well, how much do you want?" I was like, and I stole it from Pace, and I said, "Well, I mean, I can give you a number if you'd like." And he's like, "But I was like, I want to know what's best for you." And he's like, "Well, what works for you?" And I was like, $1. And he started laughing. And he's like, I was like, see, I said, that's why I want to know what works best for you. Because if you just ask me a number, I'm gonna give you the lowest number I can give you. But I don't want that. I want to give you the best number. And so throughout the negotiation, everything, we finally got it locked up. Went to Greg. Greg walked it with me. We had a buyer. This first deal is it gets you through the works of everything that could go wrong, did go wrong, and still got it through the finish line. So my seller wanted to close fast. So our buyer was like, I can close next Friday. And the seller was like, whoa, that's too fast. And it scared him. So then he was like, no. And then when we told the buyer that we couldn't, that he wasn't ready to close that fast, the buyer backed out. Oh. So we're like, oh, crap. So Greg's like, I love Greg. He's like, don't stress, man. It's fine. We'll make it happen. Where I'm over here like, what do you mean? Like the guy just backed out, He's like, nah, it's cool. It's all good. And we start going again. Now the buyer comes back. He's like, all right, well, can he do this date? And we're like, I'll double check. And the guy agreed. And then he wanted to change title companies now because he was nervous about the title company we had chosen. Well, that went back to the buyer, and now the buyer was like, nope, I'm not doing this. And he backed out again. So Greg we then talked that buyer back into our title company. Like, hey, let's go back to our title company. He was very strong on absolutely not. We're going to go to this title company. We're like, okay, we're not going to let a title company blow up the deal. So that's fine. We get going, and we had another person walk it, and they're kind of iffy. The buyer comes back again. And he's like, I'm in. Let's go ahead. We'll do this.
You know what that buyer was doing? He was looking at another deal, and he was shopping back and forth, deciding which one he was going to take. And he was probably flip-flopping between the two, and then finally ended on you. He was using it as a negotiation to see where he could round it the most on each for his terms. And so and buyers do that all the time. It's just like how we negotiate, they negotiate as well, which, of course, it's part of the game. So he comes back, and now he's hot and heavy for it. Then what happens?
The title company comes in, and this title company never sent us the wire information to put our down deposit, to put our EMD down. And so Greg's on the phone with them constantly. They come back, and they're saying that we can't do an assign. And we're like, what do you mean we can't do an assignment? So Greg, me, and this title company are on a three-way call, and they're like, yeah, we can't do this. And he's like, I do this every day.
Yeah.
Like 100% we can do this. And they were wanting his buyer's information. And like, he's like, I'm not giving you guys my buyer's information. And luckily he's like, cause it's me, and Greg knows I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to try and sneak around and steal his buyer or anything. We ended up having to do it that way. And so there was a piece of paper where I could see his buyer's information. And we finally get to closing, and the seller's like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to get all my stuff out in time. And we're like,
of course,
we're like days away at this point. He's like, can I just put my stuff in the garage, and then I'll come back and get it? So we negotiated this with the buyer, and the buyer was like, yes, that's fine. We're fine with that. And then after we got through to closing, he calls us and it's like, hey, I left some rugs in the house. Can you make sure I get those rugs? And we're like, oh my goodness, man, what is going on? House closes. Everything's good. The realtor would not allow Greg or I and a buyer to walk that house unless she was with us. She had to be right there on our hip the whole time, which being a wholesaler, it could blow up the whole deal.
For sure. Especially if you're not there for the showing. But
exactly. But Greg's a professional, and he was able to do it because I wasn't able to, because I think I had military or something going on that weekend, so I couldn't go. So Greg did. Greg's professional, all worked out, and we closed that house.
How'd you guys do on it?
We got 9,000 and split
awesome.
both ways.
Awesome.
It was an awesome deal.
And how's it been going since? What's the business been looking like since the first one?
The business has been very busy. I switched to a new CRM, so I had to. That took me a little bit of time to get used to, but not last month, but the month before, Big Country Properties which is my name. We did about $20,000 that month, which was awesome. Split down the middle between me and the dispo. So about 10K for me alone, which was amazing. It's one of those like never in a million years that I think 10K, in a month.
Right. And you still have your W-2s, right? Like you're still, and so you've got all this side money coming out now, and it's like you're stacking up retirement, pensions. You got a good plan going right now, dude.
I'm trying. That's the goal. It's gonna happen. I manifest everything. and I say it out loud because I believe that if you say it out loud, then it obviously becomes something. A dream is nothing more than just a dream, but if you write it down, it becomes a goal. Yes. So that's one of my big things. So yeah, it's going great. Everything's going great. Just getting busy, and it's that time of the season now where everything's gonna like kick up.
Yeah, it's really busy right now in our corporate stores, and so there's a lot of opportunity. There's a lot of buyer activity, so it's going to be really good. 24, I believe, is going to be one of the best years for real estate that we've seen, and so I'm excited for your continued progression, and to watch you continue to go. Would you ever leave law enforcement, and do this full time, or do you really enjoy being in public service? Because I mean, being in the military and law enforcement, it says a lot about you and your love for the country and your love for being there to be a public servant. What is your thoughts about that?
My wife and I have had that conversation a lot, and to be 100% honest with you, I think I would just be like Rocky Zidane, and I would work this full time and work that full time. Yeah. I don't think I can't see myself leaving the police force, and I definitely can't see myself leaving the military. These are dreams of mine that I had prior to ever becoming a real estate investor, and I absolutely love helping the community. As cliche as it sounds when it comes to being a police officer, I just want to help people. I just want to I want to be that person that they need in a time of that's worse for them. And in the military, I mean, I've always wanted to serve my country since 9/11. That was my thing. And now I tell everyone, I get to live my dream out tenfold. I get to be the police and the military. Now I get to be a real estate investor, and I get to teach this to my kids.
So cool, dude.
It's so amazing. But no, I don't think I could ever leave them. I would just.
I love your answer. I love your answer. And I just want to highlight this for everybody watching right now, right? We've got a man here who has 2 W-2s. Okay. He's in the military and he's in law enforcement. So he's going back and forth. He's always busy. He's serving our country. He's serving his city, serving the community. On top of that, he's serving individuals by connecting the dots with their real estate transactions and making $10,000 in a month on side money. What is your excuse? What is, if you're watching this right now and you're like, things aren't coming together, you don't have enough to make it work, what is your excuse? Because you can't say it's time. This man had none of it. None of it. You can't say it. You can't. It's priority. It's absolute priority. And we're watching today what discipline and prioritization will give you. It'll give you a lot of opportunity, and you don't have to quit your full time. You don't got to quit your dreams. If doing what you're doing right now is a dream job for you, but it's not giving you enough money for financial freedom, this is a way for you to attain that and still do what you love doing. As Doug has just clearly shown us that you don't have to sacrifice in order to live well. And, Doug, you are a shining example. Thank you so much for your service to our country, to your city, to the community. Everybody is better because of what you've provided and how you love on people. And it's incredible. And top of that, you're bringing that ethic and that discipline to your real estate investing, which will make you one of the foremost people in your area to do business with, because you're honest, you're ethical, and you care. And in the end of the day, that's what matters the most in a transaction, is people with big hearts coming together to do what they can for everybody involved. And a man like you makes sure that it's a win-win-win all the way around. So I'm sure there's people watching this right now who are like, man, I want to connect with this guy. I want to do deals with him. I want to be a part of Doug's world. How do people get a hold of you, bro?
On Facebook, I'm Doug Smith, SINSMITH. And on Instagram, I'm big_country_properties.
Big Country Properties.
Yeah, that's
incredible. So DMs, any phone number for you, or is it DMs?
I have no problem giving my phone number. My phone number is 317-922-5914. Shoot me a text, call me. I would shoot me a text is the best way to get in touch with me. You can DM me, whatever. I love to connect and help out wherever I can. That's just what I do.
And the market that you primarily work in is Indianapolis, Indiana, correct?
That is correct. Indianapolis, Indiana.
All right, guys, there you have it. Indianapolis, Indiana, you got some deals. You want to join that market. You want to be a part of Doug's life and world. You know how to get a hold of him. You know how to reach him. You know that he is an honest and great man wanting to do business with every single one of you. So watch this, get inspired, and find yourself in this position. As you heard, Doug watched for a year. For a year, he watched Wholesale Hotline. He watched these podcasts. He was learning. And it took him a little bit of time to take that plunge. But once he did, it was the best thing that he ever did. He's now able to bring a substantial amount of money to his family to help with bills and just lifestyle. And in addition to that, continues to serve our country and his city and his community. This is an A-class gentleman, and I'm so proud to have had you on To the Moon today, brother. You are awesome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jamil.
Amazing. And for all of you watching this right now, if you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and reach out, because if you're looking for something in your life to make a change, to be able to get to the next level financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we got what you need at Astro, and we'd love to hear from you. Till the next time, guys, we're out of here.